Cool. Thank you. Hey folks, welcome into the News 12 Now Desk. Thanks for joining us here on this Monday, May the 15th, just about 8 o'clock here in Augusta. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. We had some lovely weather to celebrate Mother's Day. Hopefully you were able to get out and do something with your moms to let her know how much you appreciate her. So hopefully that was all good for you. Said hopefully a lot there, but you know, it's Monday morning. Why not? Okay, we are talking about our top headlines here. First, though, a quick peek at the weather. A little overcast this morning, but warm. Let's pull up the 7-day real quick that Tim so kindly left for us here. Oh, I put myself in the wrong box. Oh, boy. Monday. There we go. Okay. We got a nice day today, maybe a little bit of rain later, but shouldn't be anything too crazy. Overall, pretty solid Monday weather-wise. All right, now we are taking a look at some of our top headlines, the big stories going on in Augusta, around Augusta, in the two-state, in the country. We're just going to cover a little bit of everything from over the weekend. We start off with some news that broke overnight here into this morning. A man's been arrested for a shooting last week in Graniteville. Aiken County deputies say Daryl Satterwhite is accused of shooting one person on Trickling Drive Tuesday morning. Satterwhite is facing charges of attempted murder and more. Sunday just wrapped up Mother's Day, as we know, and whether it was hitting the flower shops or retail stores to find that perfect gift or take your mother out to show your appreciation. Our Taylor Martin has more on this special day and how it was hitting wallets around the CSRA.
According to the National Retail Federation, people plan to spend about $274 per person on Mother's Day, nearly $30 more than last year. Here at home, local businesses are reaping the benefits of this special day as people came out to celebrate Mom, despite rising costs.
Our sales have increased by double digits. We're more than 10% greater sales than we had experienced last year.
For Martinez Flowers, Mother's Day is their second busiest holiday of the year, following Valentine's Day, as they make 1,400 deliveries in the span of 4 days. And factoring in inflation, they're happy to be supported by the community.
We know it's increased some. We can't help that. It's kind of been beyond our control. But the public has responded, and they have really supported Martinez, and we have very much enjoyed treating them well and taking care of their business.
Down the road at Finch and 5th in Surrey Center, they're seeing foot traffic similar to what they'd see during their busiest week of the year.
A busy Mother's Day is like every day for us during Masters. So because that was so close, I think everybody's prepared and they're taking it seriously.
And despite the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics showing costs for food is up 7.7%, they say they're staying afloat.
I have seen a lot of escalating prices in purchasing, but we try to keep it real and keep, the dollar down a little bit so everybody can come join us.
It's a time these businesses are grateful for those who shop local.
There's no better way you can do it. We are a family-owned, American family-owned company, and we are happy to be here to keep your local dollars local. Your sales tax is kept here in Columbia County, and it continues to do good through that.
And if you still need to get a gift for Mom, Martinez Flowers tells me they'll be open tomorrow to help you out.
So there you go. If you got to get out there today, do a little last-minute flower shopping, you can get out there, and they'll help you today on this Monday. It's also important to show you, tell your mom how much you love her, your grandmother, any woman in your life that supports you. We stopped by downtown Augusta yesterday and caught up with some people grabbing a bite to eat, walking their dogs and more, and asked them what this day means to them.
My mom has always been a chaperone with me. She's always been there to help me when I'm out of town doing judging assignments or honor bands. She's always willing to come in and step up when necessary. She's just a role model for what it is to be a good mom, and we need to appreciate people like her.
Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, including my mom that passed away 2 years ago. I'd just like to say Happy Mother's Day.
And a happy Mother's Day indeed. Should really be celebrating the moms every day, but yesterday, maybe more so than most. A deadly shooting in Richmond County left 2 dead and 3 injured. Deputies say it happened around 6:30 from an incident stemming from a motorcycle gang on Sandbar Ferry Road at East Boundary. Our Taylor Martin was out there and has the details now. That this story is from the other night, so we'll play kind of the story that we told that night and then give you the update to what we learned throughout the rest of the weekend. So this is Taylor's story from, I believe it was Saturday night.
At 6:35 p.m., a call came in shutting down East Boundary Street for hours.
When deputies arrived, they found multiple victims shot, and unfortunately 2 victims expired on the scene. At the time, we detained some witnesses to the incident. We're investigating that right now.
It all started at a party at the Outcast Motorcycle Club on East Boundary.
A rival motorcycle gang yet to be identified came to that event. Words were exchanged, and multiple shots was fired, and resulting in the death of individuals.
People out on the scene told me they were worried the victims could be their family members, but the Richmond County Sheriff's Office says there's no information on who it happened to or why.
Motorcycles were left, some were out-of-state tags. Again, we can't identify who was riding them at the time. Once we secure search warrants and identify exactly who they belong to, we get a better understanding exactly where these individuals came from.
Nearly 2 hours after shots were fired, a tow truck was on scene, removing a navy blue Audi with 3 marked bullet holes from the chevron at the intersection of East Boundary and Broad Street. And with an active scene hours after the shooting happened, authorities say the investigation is ongoing.
Once we get those people positively identified, then we'll see whether they're members of the local motorcycle gang or for the ones that we see with some out-of-town tags.
Okay, so again, that was Saturday night. That was right after it happened. So that you heard Taylor say that happened around 6:30, I believe. The call came in, and then that package aired later on that night at 11. So just a few hours later. Now, throughout the rest of the weekend, we did get more information here. We have 10 arrests following this shooting. So James Bryant, Freddie Crossan, Tyson Harper, Michaela Rickett, Larry Ross, Corey Sapp, Jessica Sapp, Larry Sutton, Kenneth Taylor, and Matthew Willis. All of them are between 26 to 44 years old. They've all been charged with 2 counts of murder and 1 count of aggravated assault. Remember, 2 people died in that shooting. 3 others were injured. We also know the 2 people who died were both out of state. 30-year-old Keith Coates was of Valdosta, Georgia. 51-year-old Jermaine Farrell was from Daytona Beach, Florida. So still a lot more to learn in this case, but that is kind of where we're at right now. South Carolina troopers say a person is dead after an accident in Aiken County Saturday. The coroner's office says 36-year-old Cornelius Tyler was identified as the driver. His pickup truck crashed around 5 o'clock. They say Tyler was going west down SC4 when he moved off the right side of the road, overcorrected, and then drove off the left side of the road. That's when his truck crashed and flipped. Aiken County deputies need your help finding a runaway teen. They say 17-year-old Alyssa Gregory was last seen at her home this past Tuesday. Her family told deputies she wore blue jeans and a gray shirt. They're offering a $500 reward for anyone who can help find her. If you know any information, know where she may be, you are asked to call the sheriff's office. Georgia Cancer Center welcomed the community to walk across campus this weekend to learn more about all types of cancer. For the 5th annual walk, people started at the M. Burt Story Research Center on Laney Walker Boulevard and explored all the buildings that contribute to cancer and research there. An administrator at the center says the atmosphere was everything they were hoping for.
Looking at just the number of people who have come out, whether they know that individual or it's their loved ones that are surrounding, just the fact that so many people are being able to make this demonstration that we care about you.
He says fundraising is open for another week, so if you weren't able to make it out this weekend, you still have a week to fundraise. All the money from the event is heading towards the Unite the Fight Against Cancer Fund, which goes back to initiatives that support cancer patients. We're taking a look at how shows either planned locally or those that visit the CSRA from out of town can have an impact on the economy. According to Destination Augusta, this month's meetings, conventions, events will bring in more than 3,000 people and generate at least $1.4 million for the city. An example of this was the Augusta Air Show this past weekend, Augusta Regional Airport hosting the U.S. Air Thunderbird Show. We met someone from Destination Augusta who says this also helps people employed in tourism.
We are an industry of 26,000 people when you look at the hospitality and tourism industry in this metro area. So that's what we talk about when we say, you know, good quality employment. Those things also bring great quality of life for local people.
He adds, this is the first time the Thunderbirds have been to our area, and the expectation is they will come back in the future. As for the air show, there will be one more, or they had all their performances over the weekend. For the first time in 34 years, Augusta University has a new athletic director. Ryan Urlacher is the man in charge of the Jags athletic programs, and he's our studio guest one-on-one with Richard Rogers.
Ryan, welcome. Good to have you with us in the studio this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, your first year on the job is still underway right now, but early impressions about potential for Augusta University athletics. What do you like so far?
Oh, I like everything. It's been an incredible year. I've been here about 6 months now, and we've just finished our 6th championship as a team, and I couldn't have walked into a better time at Augusta Athletics. Just unbelievable student athletes, amazing coaches and leadership, tremendous support from our administration. Sky's the limit at Augusta Athletics, and just excited to be here leading this fine athletics program.
You come in with a little bit of a news nugget that I didn't hear until you just mentioned it. Tell me about your women's golf team.
Women's golf, they played at University of Georgia's course yesterday in Athens, and they finished top 5 in the NCAA regional tournament. They beat out Ohio State by about, I think, 1 or 2 strokes.
That's a big school to beat.
But it is, and they are heading to the national championship in another week and a half or so out in Arizona.
Wow.
So the first time in program history, women's golf will be out there as a team competing for a national championship.
Wouldn't it be nice to have the bookends in golf, men's and women's national champions?
That's the plan.
You have a men's basketball team that's won the Peach Belt. You've sent the volleyball team to the Elite 8. We mentioned the men's golf, and that's just scratching the surface. What does all that do for recruiting?
We're trying to do something special there, and obviously they've had a lot of success at Augusta Athletics. When we're talking about facility improvements, we're talking about the culture that we're building, obviously competitive success. Recruiting, obviously, is how we're going to elevate our program. So I think the more you see us out there, we're focusing a lot on branding, but obviously success is key. So it's going to open doors for our programs. It's going to really put us on the national level, and that's what's going to make a big difference for our athletics department as we move forward.
You're winning on some big stages, though. That has to be pretty impressive.
Yes, we have great leadership in our departments, and great leadership on our teams, and just excited for the future of Augusta Athletics.
Okay, so you're just getting here, and the advantage, I think, to that is you come in with fresh eyes. What are the top needs for the program right now?
Right now, I would say facility enhancements. We have several going on. We're working on our baseball, softball facilities. We're working on our golf facilities as well. We're inside Christenberry Fieldhouse, making that facility look great as far as locker rooms and court uses. We're working on a new weight room facility right now, working on track facilities. So every sport right now, we're looking at how we can enhance and improve their experience. Obviously, the student-athlete experience is paramount to us. But for us, facility enhancements is the big one, and obviously we're going to continue our development efforts and looking for those who want to get involved with our department and support our programs and really make a difference.
What's the next big thing you need to build?
Next big thing we need to build, I would say for us, it's our outdoor experience. So we're looking at baseball, softball, seating, and locker rooms, and that fan involvement, that fan engagement. We want those coming out to games to have a great experience, and obviously track's going to be another big facility as well. But I think at baseball, softball, that's the next big thing that we're looking at building.
And you mentioned Christenberry Fieldhouse, which is a great facility, but I don't want to gloss this over. It's going to get a really big facelift. Yes. Talk me through what you've got in mind for Christenberry.
We're excited about this one. We're putting about $5 million on the outside of Christenberry. It should begin this fall. I believe it's a year-long project. We're going to have strips of metal covering the entire building. I know that sounds odd.
It's going to get a wrap.
Yes, it's going to get a wrap. The rendering is unbelievable. Logos and colors and different entrances. It's going to be one of the best facilities, I think, in the Southeast when it comes to an arena, and we just can't wait. It's going to obviously do a lot for us when it comes to recruiting and the sense of pride and school spirit our students take when they come into a facility like that.
Yeah, and I'll promise we're going to share those renderings with viewers just as soon as you're able to show us what's going on. Okay, are there any programs you don't have that you'd like to start? And I'm not pushing a football agenda, but are there programs you'd like to start?
Oh, that's a good question. I love college football, and maybe
you get that question a lot.
I get it probably every day. yes. And I love college football. My father played college football. He's a D3 national champion in college football.
Yeah.
Maybe one day. But I think for us, if we were to add any sports, as far as sports sponsorship, probably soccer is a good fit for us as we move forward in the near future. But right now, we want to fund all of our current programs the best we possibly can before we start entertaining adding any other sports. So I think once we're at that position where everyone's funded as best we can, then we can start looking at what else is out there that would be a good fit for our department.
But the next practical good fit might be soccer?
Possibly soccer, yeah. Lacrosse is always thrown out there, soccer. I've even heard crew as well. So
we got the Savannah River right there.
We do. So there's a lot of really good options and opportunities for us as we look at what could be next for Augusta Athletics.
You are here at a good time for Augusta Athletics. What do you need from us? What do you need from the community to help you out with?
I would say for those who haven't been out to a contest yet, come out and check us out. We're really proud about the family atmosphere we're producing. We're making some good moves for next year, getting ready for the sports seasons. We want everyone to come out and have a great experience and a great time, and hopefully you'll come back out and cheer on our teams. I've learned Augusta is a big city, but it's a small town feel.
Sure.
And we are, one of the best, if not the best, Division I and Division II college athletics programs in the area. So, those who don't want to make the drive to Athens, come out to our programs, come out and see us play. I think it's going to be a tremendous experience for those who do give us an opportunity. And for those who are already involved, we have some of the best supporters in the area that I've met. And I've just been so welcomed by everyone over the last 6 months. I've just been impressed with everything Augusta University and Augusta Athletics, and it has a lot to do with the type of community support we receive from an athletic standpoint.
They've been through a lot over the years, through a lot of name changes, but there's a lot of local pride in saving the A, and there's a lot of local support here too. But Ryan Urlacher, new athletic director at Augusta University, good luck with your tenure, and come back anytime.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate that.
You bet.
So there you go, new AD at AU. You can catch all of Richard's one-on-ones up on our website. So if you ever miss any, you want to go back and watch them, they're right there on the site. We also are going to play them here on Monday mornings on the News 12 Now desk. So you got a couple options there to check them out. All right, let's play a couple things from Friday that you may have missed on our newscast. The pandemic may be over, but hospitals and clinics are struggling with a lack of nurses. By 2035, Georgia is expected to have a 21% shortage of registered nurses, South Carolina 11%. Georgia will be the second highest out of 10 other states, according to the federal study. But help is on the way, and that help starts in the classroom. New nurses walked across the stage Friday. Our Nick Veland caught up with a few to ask what their mindset is going into a field that so many are leaving.
It's a shortage impacting Augusta locally and nationally. 165 nursing students at Augusta University are graduating, hoping to fill the spots, and for some, it's filling roles in the African-American male nursing community. Nurses are retiring and leaving. AU is short 17% of all nurses. Piedmont is short at least 100. The VA, though, has gained more than they've lost in 2023. But the overall shortage isn't taking away the hope for the next generation.
Not at all. I feel like it would actually encourage more people, especially me being myself.
The shortage may not be intimidating, but for these 4 graduates, they're going into unfamiliar territory, being a male black nurse.
That part could be a little intimidating. I feel like I'm a trailblazer at times, because I am an underrepresented number of that population.
3% of the graduating nursing class are black males, which is up from years past, with some years having none.
There's a stereotype with black men, also the stereotype of only being a rapper or a ball player. So I want to, kind of bring light to the nursing profession. I know a lot of people, black guys, are in medicine as well, but the nursing profession is a more so female-dominated profession, and I want them to know that they could be nurses too.
For Edwin Randall, his focus now is pouring his love for nursing into the next generation to try to fix these stereotypes and build up more black males becoming nurses.
If I can find the people, especially minority youth just like myself, that have a passion to help others, I definitely want to motivate them to possibly, pursue a journey in nursing.
Next year, AU is expected to have more than 6 graduate, and that will get more black males out in the nursing community. In Augusta, Nick Veland on your side.
Certainly trying to inspire the next group of folks who want to take on that profession and, kind of put themselves out there. So appreciate that. A week ago, first responders rushed to the Savannah River. It was a race against time after an elderly man accidentally drove down the boat ramp and into the water, his car underwater at the riverfront marina. Thankfully, he did live, thanks to two who jumped in to help him after watching the car go under. Our Will Rio caught up with Patrick Broom and 10-year-old Tate Williams, who are being credited with saving his life.
This entire marina was swarmed with cops, firefighters, and even the dive team after a car traveled all the way down the Marina Road, ending up at the boat ramp right here behind me, and then eventually into the Savannah River. Now, I had a chance to talk to the people who live in this boathouse right here behind me, who were in the right place at the right time, who say that they hope someone would do the same for them in this situation. Down at the marina and by the river, it's quiet.
No, I thought somebody was just backing the boat down.
The calmness turned into chaos for Patrick Broom and his stepdaughter, Tate.
We was getting ready to go to bed, and she walked outside and came back in. I said there was a van in the river. I didn't believe her, but turns out there was.
The aftermath, snapped by the Augusta Fire Department. The only thing you could see were the tail lights.
Came out, man was in the water, couldn't swim. I told her to call 911, she called 911, and I came out here and got him.
Broom was able to get in his kayak, paddle to the man, and get him safely to shore.
Just did what I think anybody else would have done, to be honest. I mean, I'd like to think if I was out there, somebody'd come get me.
So how can something like this even happen, you may ask?
I can see it if you're not used to the area. If you're just down here and you're cruising. I talked to the other guy down here, and he said he's seen the van. He said he was just cruising and just ran out of road.
Broom says he'd do it again if he had to, just hopefully not anytime soon.
I don't see me as being rare. I'd like to assume just about everybody would have done it. I know some people will panic and they won't, but I'd like to think most would.
In Augusta, Will Rio on your side.
Quick thinking pair right there, saving that man's life, so good for them. One graduate spent her lifetime fighting to get her degree, and Friday, she walked across the stage on her birthday. Hallie Turner was at the ceremonies and spoke with Theodosia Williams about why she decided to go back to school.
It took her more than 50 years to get to this point.
Theodosia Williams.
She says the road to education has never been easy.
It was hard back in the 50s, and there was a lot of pitfalls.
Williams left high school in Brooklyn, New York without a diploma, started a family, joined the military, and 13 years later, she began knocking on the door to education, this time for her GED.
I could do everything anybody else could do, and I knew it. I just didn't have the opportunity to do it, but I knew I could.
While she has a thirst for education, her family came first.
I didn't want my children to live like me. I grew up in the ghetto, but I was never poor. I was broke. My parents was broke.
Once she knew everyone was okay, education was back in the picture, setting her eyes on a bachelor's degree in art.
Still got gray cells. You know what I mean? I still got gray cells. They say you can't teach old dog new tricks. Woof woof.
She says her journey may be a long one, but she wouldn't change a thing.
I would want to go through it the same way I did because it's got me here.
And it's never too late to learn.
I hope my mother and father can look down and be proud of me. They knew I could do it, but they didn't know how to help.
In Augusta, Hallie Turner on your side.
Still a lot of great energy for 80. Looks great, too. Congrats to her. She turned 80 on Friday, and she may have her degree, but she's already registered to return to AU in the fall. Not for another degree, but just to continue taking classes and learning. Okay, let's move on to some more non-region or non-local news here. A 40-year-old man was arrested in Pennsylvania just before the weekend in connection to the murder of his wife last year. The GBI, that's the wrong video, hang on. The GBI recently identified her remains on Wednesday as Mindy Casadas. They say she was found by hunters in the woods near Savannah last December. Nicholas Casadas faces malice murder, tampering with evidence, and removal of body parts from the scene charges. He's expected to be extradited back to Georgia. Okay, now this is the right video. Charges against the mother from Sandy Springs are going to amend it in connection to the death of her 1-year-old daughter. Officers say the Fulton County District Attorney's Office recommended the original charges for cruelty to children and felony murder be changed to malice murder. Officers found her daughter in a nearby park pond Thursday night after they found the mother naked and rubbing up against cars in a parking deck. Surveillance video from that night shows she and her daughter walked to the pond around 6:12, and then she's sitting in the pond for about 6 minutes and then heading back towards the parking deck by herself. A tragedy is what the organizers of a vigil for a newlywed bride are calling the alleged DUI crash that ended her life. Our sister station from Charleston heard from the groom who survived the crash, but not without lasting scars. Emily Johnson has more.
While still wearing her wedding dress, Samantha Miller died in Folly Beach on April 28th when a vehicle rear-ended a golf cart carrying Miller, her husband, and 2 others.
It really is a tragedy for Folly Beach, and we're all grieving with the family.
At least 100 people gathered on Folly Beach Saturday morning, including Miller's husband, Eric Hutchinson, visiting the very beach the couple was married on for the first time since the crash. Hutchinson sat on the shoreline in a wheelchair after sustaining a brain injury and multiple broken bones after the golf cart was thrown 100 yards.
I'm feeling pretty good. My body's getting back to where I can manage, I guess. Just as good as I can feel with the situation.
Friends, family, and members of the Folly Beach community paddled out into the water to honor Samantha's life by throwing flowers into the ocean with Sam written on the stems.
She'd love it. This is Sam. I mean, she's a beach girl through and through. We do walks here almost every morning, and this is her send-off for sure. She's up there smiling for sure.
Locally, Hutchinson says the people of Folly Beach, some that had no connection to the couple, have donated food during his recovery, as well as showing love and prayers.
It's a little overwhelming,
Yeah.
but I mean, they're sincere, genuine, good-hearted people that are just reaching out, that felt a reason to, or somehow they were touched by Sam. So it just means the world that she left that impact.
One woman who surfs on Folly Beach and helped organize the event says the community treats everyone like one big family.
The golf carts, it's all part of the Folly living. So I think I'm hoping that maybe this can make some good positive changes so that everybody can feel safe and be on the roads. And I'm sad that sometimes it takes a tragedy like this to make that change happen.
Thousands of people from all over the country have donated to the GoFundMe page to help pay for Samantha's burial and medical costs for Eric and his family. As of Saturday, the page has now raised over $719,000.
And the driver of the vehicle that hit the golf cart was arrested and identified by police as Jamie Komorowski. Komorowski was traveling at a speed of 65 miles an hour when that accident happened. A judge is denying a motion filed by an attorney for a convicted murderer, Alec Murdaugh, that sought fees covering his appeal. Attorney Jim Griffin was requesting an additional $160,000 to be released from Murdaugh's retirement account to pay for the appeal of Murdaugh's life sentence. Griffin says the 6-week murder trial used the $600,000 they were given. Murdaugh is still awaiting trial on more than 100 other criminal charges, including insurance fraud and money laundering. Gun violence continues to rise the years since the shootings at the Top supermarket in Buffalo, New York, a year ago yesterday. The country has seen 221 mass shootings in 2023, and the problem only seems to grow. Astrid Martinez explains how communities are trying to heal.
Put our broken pieces back together again.
Pain from the mass shooting at Top's supermarket is still on the minds of the community.
I don't need help remembering. My problems I can't forget.
A gunman who had posted a white supremacist tirade opened fire on shoppers in the predominantly black neighborhood.
Hate did not win on that day.
And the scourge of random gun violence lived on in cities across the country this weekend. Like in Yuma, Arizona, 2 dead, 5 injured, many of them teenagers at a family gathering. In Albany, New York, 3 shot and 1 killed, including an 8-year-old. And in Philadelphia, a 14-year-old was shot and killed Saturday. But critics say lawmakers have been slow with solutions.
People don't like to hear it, but it's not guns, it's people.
President Biden publishing an op-ed today criticizing Congress for its lack of action.
Hello, sir.
In an exclusive interview airing this Tuesday on CBS Mornings, former President Barack Obama tells Nate Burleson that gun violence has become an ideological issue.
Urban versus rural. Race is always an element in these issues.
Parents who lost their own loved ones use this Mother's Day to reinvigorate calls to end the crisis.
We don't know who or why they killed my son, and I just would like an end to gun violence.
And 10 days from now, America will mark 1 year since yet another mass shooting. That one in Uvalde, Texas, where a gunman killed 19 students and 2 teachers at an elementary school. Astrid Martinez, CBS News, New York.
And yesterday, like I said, marked the 1 year since the tragic mass shooting at a supermarket in Buffalo, New York. 10 people killed, 3 others hurt when a gunman opened fire at the attack at the Tops Friendly Market. Exactly 1 year later, the city coming together for a day of remembrance. Civil rights activist Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network held 2 memorial services at local churches to honor the victims. During his speech, he says somebody needs to deal with stopping tragedies like this, for you can't heal the wound until you deal with it.
They want folk that will cover the wound rather than heal the wound. A year later, last week, a white supremacist attacked and did a mass killing in Allen, Texas. A year later, this coming Friday, I'm doing a eulogy for a young man choked to death on a subway because he had a mental episode and a man felt he had the right to choke him to death.
After that, the city of Buffalo will have a moment of silence followed by the chiming of church bells. The Secretary of Homeland Security says the number of migrant encounters at the border has fallen since the end of Title 42, but border officials warn it's too early to tell if that will continue to be the trend. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavidez reports.
In Brownsville, Texas, migrants are seen waiting at this bus station. They're among the lucky who made it into the U.S. Tens of thousands of people are crowded in Mexico waiting to enter. Still, the large wave of migrants so many cities were bracing for hasn't materialized.
The United States Border Patrol has experienced a 50% drop in the number of encounters versus what we were experiencing earlier in the week, before Title 42 ended.
Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas says that number went from over 10,000 encounters to 6,300 on Friday and about 4,200 on Saturday.
We have communicated very clearly a vitally important message to the individuals who are thinking of arriving at our southern border.
But along border towns, holding facilities are bursting at the seams. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez represents El Paso.
In this particular facility, it's meant to house 1,000 people. It's housing over 3,000. In one of these rooms, it's meant the max capacity is 90 people. There was over 400 in here. That's a 450% capacity. We can't allow not that bad to be the normal.
Humanitarian efforts are underway to help the asylum seekers from California to New York and Colorado, where their next steps remain uncertain. Christian Benavides, CBS News.
Despite the decrease in numbers in a federal court filing Friday, the Border Patrol deputy chief said his agency was still preparing for daily migrant arrivals to increase between 12,000 to 14,000. Plus, Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley spoke with CBS's Face the Nation on what her immigration policy would be if she became president. She says this crisis was created among party lines.
This very much should have been dealt with a long time ago, and it wasn't. What I would do is, first of all, do the mandatory E-Verify. I would defund sanctuary cities. I would go back to remain in Mexico because no one wants to remain in Mexico. I would fire the 87,000 IRS agents that are going after Middle America and put 25,000 Border Patrol and ICE agents on the ground.
Haley says officials have to be serious about the fact the nation is founded on laws, and when they're not in a country, or when they're not a country based on laws, they give up what the U.S. was founded on as well. Current South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster is calling on the SLED director to send law enforcement officials to the state's commercial airport. He says he wants them there to immediately report any efforts to deplane or transport illegal immigrants at their facilities. McMaster believes the Biden administration and the Homeland Security Secretary may be committed to denying the existence of or addressing the humanitarian and national security crisis. In North Carolina, multiple people are dead after a truck crashed into a home early yesterday morning. The Cherokee County deputies say a white pickup truck followed a Dodge Charger just before 1 a.m. on the highway, shooting at their car. The chase continued all the way into Cleveland County until they lost the suspects. Deputies found it later crashed into a house. They say 6 men were in the car, 3 of them dead. One of the suspects was released from the hospital. Deputies say no one in the other car was hurt. No word yet on the other 2 suspects' conditions or if there are any charges on the way. Whether in kindergarten, middle school, or high school, climate change curriculum in New Jersey schools is tailored with students in mind. Alicia Reed reports from Reddington, where climate change is an integral part of learning.
We have nutrient water that comes through a tube right here, which is timer set, which is then released into plants that would be in these little pockets here. And then all of that runoff that would, like in a normal farm, possibly go into a river and pollute it, all of it just goes right back down here to be reused all over again.
Once ready, plants go from this aeroponic tower to soil.
The roots got so thick they actually burst through the pot, and now we can't remove it, so that pot's going to stay in there with it.
Sustainability is one of the top priorities for Reddington School District.
When kids are able to speak to their passions, they really dig in and they're really compassionate about what they want to do.
New Jersey's mandatory climate change curriculum is a first in the U.S. and the brainchild of the state's First Lady, Tammy Murphy.
Do you think this could be a blueprint for other states?
Everything that we have done so far, we will make available to anyone who would like to have access. So we have had a lot of outreach from other states, ranging from, Oregon, Wyoming, Colorado, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, to name a few, as well as far away as Australia.
Some schools like Reddington Middle were already ahead of the curve.
We're trying to help our climate and make it more sustainable.
The 6th, 7th, and 8th grade Eco Ambassadors have been working hard. Last spring and fall, they researched how much food went to waste in their cafeteria.
Per the 525 students that were in this school last year, that's 25,100 pounds per year. And so that adds up to about 10.75 tons of school lunch waste per school year, and that's just lunch waste.
With that newly obtained info, they're now working to make a change.
We're looking to do like an education campaign with posters in the hallway. It ties into the art again. We want to have art in the hallways, so people are just constantly getting it in their head about that they need to cut back, that they need to reduce.
Students are doing what they need to ensure a sustainable life for themselves and their classmates, like researching the bioswale outside their school.
And it's just a great way to stop from flooding and like the severe rains.
Following the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and cutting back on waste, some are already thinking about a future in the culinary arts.
I'm going to try to make it nutrient dense as well as calorie dense and also cheap.
Murphy says New Jersey will be 100% green by 2035. Right now, it's up to each district to decide how they roll out standards and core curriculum.
Students can really take this and just skyrocket into any career.
So transportation, clothing, food, art, everything we do is going to be impacted by climate change.
Alicia Reed, CBS News, White House Station, New Jersey.
President Biden spoke about threats to the United States, but they did not include immigration at a commencement speech at Howard University. He addressed the graduate students there, and CBS's Christina Ruffini is at the White House with more.
At Howard University today, President Biden told soon-to-be graduates that America is still in a fight for its soul.
Reject political extremism and reject political violence.
That's the same language Mr. Biden used to launch both presidential runs.
I said we're in a battle for the soul of America.
And without naming names, he reminded the predominantly black audience what his predecessor and current Republican challenger said following violence at a 2017 white supremacist rally in Charlottesville, Virginia.
A famous quote, "There are very fine people on both sides." That's when I knew I had to stay engaged and get back into public life.
But unlike his last campaign, this time President Biden is running on his record as well as his rhetoric.
We are really putting it to Biden, but he's putting it to himself because the economy stinks, inflation is horrible.
Battling potential Republican challengers on the trail.
If we make 2024 election a referendum on Joe Biden and his failures, Republicans will win across the board.
And House Republicans back in Washington in a deja vu-inducing stalemate over raising the national debt limit.
Well, I think they're moving along. It's hard to tell. We've not reached the crunch point yet.
Top Republican lawmakers are supposed to have a debt ceiling meeting with the president here yesterday. That has now been pushed to sometime next week. Christina Ruffini, CBS News, the White House.
Changing gears now to where a woman from Woodstock is building an animal sanctuary, but gives good advice on when it's okay to help them in need or leave them alone. Jackie Wilcox cuts vegetables every day of the week to feed about 100 animals through her nonprofit. She's rehabbed more than 600 animals last year while she's working 18 hours a week. But that doesn't mean everyone can step up to the task. She says if you see an animal and it's not injured, it likely does not need rescuing. Don't pick up any babies by themselves. And the best way you can help a stray animal is through an app called Animal Help Now. It connects you to nearby rescues and experts who can make the call. Many people have begun to turn to online dating as a way to find love. However, some users are revenge blocking others and getting them banned from platforms. Rahima Ellis has the details.
Dating apps. They've changed the way people connect and fall in love. Partly because the way people interact has changed.
I work from home and I'm an online student, so I don't really meet people outside in the real world.
But now online dating is also changing the way we hold people accountable, known as dating revenge. It refers to waves of users reporting their exes for anything from documented misconduct to virtual exchanges, causing emotional distress, often referred to as love bombing. Some people say they've been booted from the apps entirely, although it's not always clear why, but they've made complaints to the Better Business Bureau over it. In some cases, it completely stops their online dating life. We haven't reviewed the content of her messages, but Erin Sharaba, a 36-year-old woman in Washington state, says that is what happened to her.
I was banned for about 9 months.
She believes it started after an unpleasant exchange with a man.
He messages me with some vulgar stuff and then mentions that I did not respond to him on Plenty of Fish.
I was having issues getting past their terms of service.
She thought that was the end of it. It wasn't.
And then there was another guy that had asked to go to my house and I told him no. Right after that, within like 12 hours, I found out I was blocked.
As you can see here, Erin got an email saying she was banned from Plenty of Fish for violating community guidelines and terms of use. It did not include specific details of why she was banned. We know that Plenty of Fish is owned by Match Group. She was also banned from Tinder and Hinge. We reached out to the apps for comment, but didn't hear back. Plenty of Fish's policy states all banned accounts are carefully reviewed before the decision is made. Bumble, a dating app with 40 million users, which is not owned by Match Group, is trying to address this problem.
We do have an opportunity for anyone who feels that they were incorrectly removed from the app to inquire about why they were blocked. And we can then provide them with some additional information to hopefully help them learn about what may have happened in that process.
And some dating experts say it goes deeper than just hurt feelings.
It can be really hard for on your mental health if you are revenge blocked.
It's so hard, she says, because online dating is how many people are getting together. In fact, a recent study in 2019 shows that almost 40% of heterosexual couples met their partner online. almost double the number in just 1 decade.
If you just take that away from somebody, it can be really challenging, especially if their mental health isn't in an amazing state to begin with. And so it's just not right. It's really messed up.
In spite of the setbacks, Erin remained a believer, and she says it paid off for her.
I actually ended up getting back on 2 months after I was reinstated and met my partner.
Getting back to dating meant getting back online, where these days the game is played.
Whole different game than what it used to be about 10 years ago, that's for sure. Well, talking about cell phones and apps and whatnot, most of us wouldn't leave home without our cell phone, but that constant connection may come at a cost. New research shows the mere presence of our phones, even when it's turned off and we're not looking at it, can be taking up our time and attention and making it harder to work and do tasks. Yun Yang reports on the surprising study and what you can do to avoid the pitfalls.
Cell phones help keep us connected with family, friends, and the news. But researchers say the mere presence of our phones can cause brain drain, whether they're on or even off.
We were surprised because most of the research on attention would suggest that if people are not being consciously distracted, so if they're not looking away at their phones, they should be able to perform. But it seems as if just merely having it there still occupies resources.
Kristen Duke is with the University of Toronto and says during the experiment, participants were separated into 3 different groups.
They either left their phones in the lobby in a separate room from where they would be participating in our experiment, or they brought their phones with them and carried them however they naturally carry them. So for some participants, this was in their pockets. For others, this was in a bag. And then the third group of participants, we asked them to put their phones out on their desk in front of them.
Then each group was given a task and tested on how well they could focus and problem solve.
We wanted to see if having your smartphone in your vicinity compared to having it in a separate room, out of view and out of sight and out of mind, might impact people's performance on these 2 different types of tasks. We found that the location itself mattered. So people were most affected when their smartphone was visible. So when it's out on the desk in front of you, that is essentially the strongest cue to remind you of your phone and sort of have these negative consequences.
What's more surprising, researchers say that even when the phone was lying face down with notifications silenced or turned off completely, just the presence of it had an impact on a person's cognitive capacity, making it harder for them to process and remember information and problem solve.
We find that people are sort of unconsciously always attending to the possibility of their phone needing their attention, and the requirement to sort of override that impulse to check and see if you have a notification or sort of prevent yourself from being distracted.
So what are we supposed to do? Researchers say you can start by carving out time each day away from your phone or setting it aside in a different room while you're working.
Plan to have these sort of defined and protected periods of time. Myself as well, I started this project where I would be working on my computer and have my phone off to the side. Didn't think anything about it, and these results have actually changed how I think about how I interact with my phone and other technology as well.
Phones, of course, such a huge part of our daily lives, but could be doing a little bit more harm than good at times, as we all know. To outer space now, where Virgin Galactic is planning its first paid passenger flight from Spaceport, New Mexico in late June. Brianna Wilson shares how an employee was picked by the company for the experience.
3, 2, 1, fire.
They've been talking about it for years. Now, paying customers may be flying out of the New Mexico spaceport as early as late June. But before that happens, Jamila Gilbert will have to check things out.
It is a nervous excitement.
She's a Virgin Galactic employee, raised in Las Cruces, picked up by the company to experience a trip to space from a customer's perspective.
So many people have not had the opportunity to fly to space in all of human history. The number is microscopic, and getting to experience this just as our customers will is phenomenal.
Jamila is unlike other members of her crew or many of those who've taken Virgin Galactic test flights in the past. She's not a pilot, an engineer, or even a scientist, and less than 5 years ago, she was working a communications job with Visit Las Cruces. Then she got a job with Virgin Galactic's internal communications.
Never in a million years did I think I would have the opportunity to fly to space.
Welcome to witnesses. You're clear to unstrap.
Jamila will get the full customer experience, the same 3 days of training 800 paying customers have already signed up for, followed by a space flight on the 4th day. Not only does she get to take the trip of a lifetime, she gets to do it close to home.
It is the ultimate transformational experience to see Earth from above, just a little under an hour from where I grew up.
There you go. Okay, that's going to be very cool for her. Going to be an awesome experience. Well, just in time for Mother's Day, a mother and daughter made history at 42,000 feet in the sky. Naomi Ruckham shows us their journey together as pilots through their lifelong bond.
Terry Edison and her daughter Nicole McAllister have always been close, but this Mother's Day, their bond is soaring to new heights. The duo can now claim their place in history after becoming the first mother-daughter team to co-pilot an international flight.
You're looking over there once we got leveled off and wow, this is two of us up here flying this huge jet. That was a warming feeling. I enjoyed it.
Late last month, the FedEx pilots took a 14.5-hour trip from Memphis to Incheon, South Korea, nearly 7,000 miles side by side. Terry served as captain. Nicole took the helm for takeoff and landing.
It was one of the better landings that I've had. So, in that moment, it was funny because my mom was sitting right next to me, but I also reflected what my mom said, where it was like, no, I know I'm going to do well.
At a young age, Nicole admired her mom's career in aviation, so she became an Air Force pilot and eventually joined Terry at FedEx.
Nicole, how does your mom inspire you?
Oh, my mom inspires me in so many ways. She was always there, and as an adult, she's always been here.
Now a mom herself, Nicole reflects on how her mother did it all. Terry says the journey has been worth every minute.
Being a mom and doing this job, being a mom and doing any job, it's not easy to, find that fine balance of being able to do both and being able to do both well.
Their message to moms everywhere: let your dreams take flight. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News.
And to make the trip even sweeter, Nicole's dad, Terry's husband, who's also a pilot, served as relief pilot on board. So their trip comes nearly 91 years after Amelia Earhart's first solo flight across the Atlantic. So pretty cool little family affair they had. Okay, let's do some sports here. We got a little bit of time before the mix comes on, so let's just throw it over to Alyssa for sports.
Do you know the name Ethan Workinger? He's not a household name in Augusta, not yet, not even in Georgia. Maybe on Twitter people still use it, but that will soon change, and it's pretty easy to see why. Jackets back in action in SRP after dropping the last 3 to Charleston. Hey, they're in need of a little boost. Seriously, hey, the moms are watching. Ethan Workinger, remember that name now. He has hit in 16 straight games, the longest hit streak in the Carolina League, the MILB, and the MLB. He can do more than that. He gets moved to second off a balk. Nick Clarno gets through on an error, and Workinger just ties it on up. And Andrew Keck, well, he just breaks it with a 2-run bomb. The moms can rest easy now. Jackets split 6-3. Monday at 6 in the SCISA Region 1 4A State Championship, Augusta Christian will take on Hammond for a best-of-3 series. It is the first time the Lions have made it to state in 16 years. Game 2 will follow on Tuesday at Hammond. Saturday, junior Brooke Jordan out of Cross Creek won state in the GHSA 3A 100-meter hurdles. Jordan finished with a time of 14:95. She also finished second in the 300-meter hurdles with a time of 43:83. Not only that, Jordan is the first Razorback to win an event at state in 10 years. Congratulations there. In the XFL Championship, the Arlington Renegades beat out the DC Defenders 35-26. Bringing home the blame to Burke County is Devontae Lambert out of Auburn. Lambert, who is a defensive lineman for the Renegades, was named to the All-XFL team this season, the only Renegade to do so. Prior to the season, the Burke County grad hasn't suited up since 2020. Lambert previously worked out with the Panthers and played in 11 games with the Bucks. Dan Booth will be back with more later on this evening.
All right, thanks, Alyssa. A popular folk artist who grew up in Edgefield is back in the area, setting up in North Augusta. Ernest Lee painted thousands of pieces over the years, making most of his creations right on the side of the road. Orville Volk stopped by the Arts and Heritage Center to check out his latest work.
Just love what I do.
Ernest Lee found his passion pretty early.
Oh, I love it, man. Started painting about 12, but I started drawing about 5, so been at a long time.
For decades, he's been setting up on the side of the road to paint and sell his work.
If I want to be known, I got to go out here and work hard at it, because I know wasn't nobody going to give it to me.
After doing this for years, he started to earn a living and a following.
I like the way people love it and respect what I do too.
Wherever Lee sets up, he can count on people showing up for his art.
A lot of people say folk art, but I would say I'm more of a pop artist. I can pop in and out to different things. Like I can do portraits, I do buildings, I do animals.
What he's really known for is his chickens. He says one of his heroes encouraged him.
I said, Ernest, your chicken working. I would just keep painting your chicken.
And that's what he's done. Lee's painted so many chickens that many know him as the Chicken Man. Whether they call him that or just Ernest, he's just happy to do what he loves every day.
You just gotta do what you gotta do. Love what you do, enjoy it. No work a day hard in your life, but you enjoy it and love it.
In North Augusta, Will Volk on your side.
And if you've ever been to Columbia, you've probably seen the Chicken Man up there at some point. He's a legend over there in Soda City. So really cool stuff there. Thanks a lot for that, Will. That is going to do it for headlines here. I got about 3.5 minutes, so I got to wrap this thing up. Take it over to the TV side of things. Download the app. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, all that normal stuff I talk about. And Meredith Anderson and I will be back here later this morning on the News 12 Now desk talking about her latest I-Team investigation. So you'll definitely want to tune in for that. But for now, head on over to The Mix, watch Cliff and Zayna over there, and we'll see you back here in a little bit.